Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're all having a fantastic day today. I was just made aware of this by Ringside News, and this was something I wanted to touch base on because if you followed the careers of both Bret the Hitman Hart and Hulk Hogan, you would know going back many years that the two had not the greatest of work relationship. They've done shoot interviews on each other. One of those many conflicts that happened due to the ugliness of what professional wrestling once was. And Ringside News is the source that details that Hulk Hogan seemingly disses Bret Hart while claiming he's willing to bury the hatchet. And he basically stated, here we go. Hulk Hogan said that he has no ill feelings towards Bret Hart. He then told a story about how he shook Bret Hart's hand backstage at a WWE RAW. But Hogan did not know if Bret was even realized it was him at the time because the handshake was so fast. Basically states Bret Hart, he hates Goldberg and he hates everybody, so I don't know where I fall in line there. I don't know. The funny thing is that I saw him. I was in a WWE locker room and I was called to gorilla position and I walked through the door and Natty, who I love to death, was standing there with Bret and I go, "Hey, Bret," and I reached out and shook his hand. He stuck his hand, and I shook it real fast, and I was gone before he even realized it was me, I think. Now, straight off the bat, I know where this is going to go when people think about wrestling conflicts that Bret Hart had with others. They come out and they accused him. Bret Hart is being bitter. He's whining. He's this and that. It's no secret that Bret Hart has been vocal about the ugliness of what professional wrestling had done to him and others. The conflict with Hulk Hogan goes all the way back to when they both were in WWE years ago. Most notably, the idea that Bret Hart and Hulk Hogan would have a one-on-one match at SummerSlam 1993. That's how generally WWE was going to go with the plan. Bret Hart would lose the belt to Yokozuna at WrestleMania 9. Hulk Hogan would win it back abruptly, face Yokozuna at the King of the Ring, retain the belt against Yokozuna. Bret Hart would win the King of the Ring. That would set up the groundwork for a match between them, which did not happen. Because of the King of the Ring 1993, everybody remembers Yokozuna regained the WWE title from Hulk Hogan. He then left WWE afterwards and would jump ship to Ted Turner's WCW a year later. Some time passes. Bret Hart had said many times in shoot interviews that the plan was to have both him and Hulk Hogan in the ring at SummerSlam 1993. Hulk Hogan, however, has denied this and said that Bret thought he heard what he had heard, but it was not actually the plan that Vince McMahon wanted to do. Okay, maybe it's one of these things where one hears something the other doesn't. It's bound to happen. It happens in society all the time. But look at the way that that was all going down and tell me that is anybody really going to listen to Hulk Hogan's side of it? Given how Hulk Hogan just abruptly left after the King of the Ring 93, combined with the fact that WrestleMania 9, that Hulk Hogan was in a tag team title match against Money Inc., and then later in the show came out and got the WWE title handed to him after Yokozuna defeated Bret Hart in the main event. I kind of think I'm going more with how it looks in terms of creatively on what WWE agenda was, rather than listen to someone who not only gave a narrative, but then left WWE so abruptly before anything could happen with a match with Bret Hart. WCW, a couple years later, after Hulk Hogan jumped ship to WCW, what happened? Bret Hart got screwed over in Montreal, Survivor Series 1997, reluctantly goes over to WCW. They start hinting at a match between them. They both take shots at each other. Hulk Hogan is in the NWO at this time. Bret Hart was already going after Hulk Hogan. The hype for a match between them was definitely there. It was going to happen, and then suddenly out of the blue, WCW swerved us, and they put Bret Hart in the NWO. So, once again, another reminder, more stuff that falls into place. Another company not willing to put these two in the ring for a WCW title match. And again, if you look at the time period of this, WCW also was a new company for Bret Hart to do more in after the falling out with WWE happened, to where it's more of a wrestling company to where the Hitman could feel right at home, facing a lot of people that he never faced before, facing people that he already faced before, and facing people that he wanted to face. And WCW would not put these two in a title match. This continued to cement further to what Bret Hart was talking about. The Hulk Hogan, once again, did not want to put somebody over. Now, don't get me wrong. These two did have a brief match on WCW Monday Nitro, but it ended up being a swerve with Bret Hart getting taken out of the match due to an injury. Sting came out, replaced Bret Hart. The two had a match. Bret Hart came out to the ring, turned on Sting, and revealed that it was a ruse from the very beginning. That's not the kind of match that I was thinking of, nor was it the match that everybody wanted to see. And then we know that through time, it started to look more and more like the match was never going to happen. Hulk Hogan, by 99, 2000, around there, people were tired of him. They were tired of the way he was in the business. He was starting to move slower in the ring. His matches were not great anymore. He was getting winded early in matches. Throw on the crap at WCW Bash at the Beach. The plan was to have Hogan and Bischoff walk out, and it would be an angle to where Hogan would come out at WCW Halloween Havoc and face whoever the champion was. That didn't happen because allegedly Vince Russo went into business for himself. He did the shoot in the ring. It screwed everything up. But through it all, Hulk Hogan, it's well known he had creative control. Not just with the whole thing with Jeff Jarrett that he pulled. Even though I'm not a big admirer of Jeff Jarrett, I have to say, however, that Jarrett was a harder worker and a greater wrestler. And again, Hogan did not want to put him over, because there was a thing with Vince Russo and Hulk Hogan to where Russo said Hogan is not leaving with the belt. And Hogan spent all day throwing this creative control card around, continuing to avoid doing what was best for business. That's just another reminder of what Hulk Hogan had become. Politicking, creative control, and that was it. And look what happened. The match with Bret Hart never happened. We know Bret would go on and get kicked in the head by Goldberg. That's another conflict that Hogan briefly mentions in this whole thing, claiming he hated Bill Goldberg. When in reality, Bret Hart was just angry because his career was taken away. I don't think Bret Hart personally hates Bill Goldberg. I think it was just a move done wrong. The timing was done wrong, and that's what caused it. It was not through the fault of Bill Goldberg. It was just sometimes stuff happens in a match. But even so, not just with the conflict with Bret Hart, you got to look back at the really shady history of Hulk Hogan refusing to do jobs for people. How many shoot interviews are on YouTube and elsewhere where these wrestlers all talk about the fact that Hogan did not want to put certain guys over? I mean, it was already pretty much speculated at SummerSlam 1989 that Macho Man Randy Savage was supposed to win the belt back from Hulk Hogan, who beat him at WrestleMania 5. And instead, what they did is they wanted to capitalize off of Hogan's no-holds-barred film, bring in Zeus, have a tag team match. Decent main event, but it was not the main event that many people wanted to see. They wanted Hogan versus Savage one more time. Savage will win the belt back, and of course, that didn't happen. And it's believed that that was one of the many conflicts that Hogan and Savage had with each other. But again, it's more of the same. Conflicts, creative control, not doing what's best for business. And I know where people are going to go with this, and I know I've been listening to this for a long time. Hey, man, Bret Hart did not want to put Shawn Michaels over at Survivor Series 97. He didn't want to do business. No, Bret Hart was going to put him over, and Shawn said, I will never put you over and show respect, even if it's our final match. Bret pulled out, and that is what caused the conflict between them to go further. But every time Bret Hart talks about a conflict with someone, these idiot fans, I swear to God, he's just being bitter again. He's crying. But anybody else that comes out and has a problem with another wrestler, let's just clap in approval and accept it. Because wrestling fans are biased. And that is one of the many problems. And it gets to a point where people have got to stop going on a superstar stardom and start realizing that they got away with doing stuff to get to the top. But there also is the long argument fans have made to why these two never faced each other. Because Bret Hart would mop the mat with this guy in a wrestling match straight up every day of the week. Hulk Hogan's moveset, limited moveset, clothesline, suplex, body slam, big boot. Oh my God, that's a lot of wrestling. Bret Hart, technical wrestler, aerialist, can brawl, can take the fight to the outside. He has the strength to pick up big guys you wouldn't imagine from a guy his size. He could pile drive Psycho Sid. The guy's able to suplex, from what I remember, Big Daddy Cool Diesel. Okay? Bret Hart also had the charisma to make every match feel special, but every promo seem wonderful. Go back and watch his matches with Shawn Michaels. Watch the 60-man Iron Man match at WrestleMania 12, and then tell me that Hulk Hogan has done a match better than that. Bret Hart's matches with the late Owen Hart, The Undertaker, Mr. Perfect, Stone Cold Steve Austin, all superior matches than anything that Hulk Hogan has ever done. And that's the truth. And it comes down to it that Hulk Hogan, like many other conflicts, got away with doing something in wrestling that caused lifelong anger in Bret Hart. And Bret Hart was justifiably angry at all of this. Now, it's not the worst conflict that he ever had, but it definitely is one that Bret still carried throughout the years. And it comes down to it that while the two might have tried to make peace, you got to realize why the anger was there from Bret Hart and a lot of other people. Because Hulk Hogan, he played the creative control, the political card, and did not want to put half of these people over that he wanted to work with or they wanted to work with him. And that's what it comes down to. Now, if there's more to this conflict that happened between them, we might learn it in time. I don't know. All I know is that I believe Bret Hart was more truthful about the conflict between them than Hogan ever was. And it comes down to it that Bret Hart was a much greater wrestler, a harder worker, and a better role model for people than Hulk Hogan ever was. And that's the goddamn truth. But, you know, people are going to disagree, and that's fine. Comment down below in the video if you agree with this or disagree with it. I want to hear from you guys. Thanks again for watching, and I'll talk to you guys later.